Hello and welcome to the Monday, November 14th edition of the TV on Basketball podcast with your host, TV. A great podcast with you today. Here today. We have Critical Condition Sports once again as we discuss our Western Conference offseason predictions / what we think each team should do this offseason. Really good episode. If you want to check him out, all of his links are going to be down in the description. Yeah, right now I'm outside. Very, very nice day. Doing my little intro. I'm actually really liking these vlog style intros. They actually are really nice. But yeah, really good episode today. It's going to be a different schedule going on for this week. So today you're going to be listening to the Western predictions. Then after we're going to be, on Wednesday, we're going to have my NBA draft lottery predictions, basically. So that's going to be really fun to do as well. And then on Friday, we have the Eastern Conference predictions with Joe once again. So you have 3 podcasts coming out this week. Really excited for just this crazy week of basketball. I mean, NBA free agency, trades opening up again, the draft. Really, really crazy. And you can catch all of that stuff on my channel this week. So really hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow at TV on Basketball on all social media platforms, which can be found in the description. And if you're listening on the podcast, show your support as well. Subscribe, leave a like, all that good stuff. So thank you guys for all your support, and I hope you enjoy this podcast. Let's throw it over to myself and Joe. And yeah, let's do this. Off the top, we're starting in the Western Conference today. So we're going to go through each team, and we're just going to discuss like what's the one offseason move that we believe they should make. And Joe, are you ready to do this?
Let's go, man.
Let's do this. So, like we said, we're starting from the West. We're going to start at the bottom of the standings all the way to the top with the Los Angeles Lakers. But we're going to start at the bottom. So we're going to start with the Golden State Warriors. Joe, what is the one move you believe they should make this offseason?
Draft Wiseman. Draft Wiseman. With their pick, man.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like the Warriors need a center. I think it fills a position in need. A lot of people were, talking about them trying to draft LaMelo, or trying to move up to draft LaMelo. I don't think that's a position of need for them right now. I don't really think that solves a lot of issues for them. I feel like, with Steph and Clay coming back at full force and being able to shoot, and you're never out of contention in a game when you have those two guys shooting. I feel like getting a capable center, a young capable center, with that team, I feel like it fixes a position in need, man, and it adds some physicality to that basketball team that they are going to need when they're getting into the playoff season.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like James Wiseman feels like he is the number one like big man in this draft, like far and away. He had his troubles in Memphis, of course, the whole like situation with him, being bribed by Penny Hardaway and stuff like that. But the whole college, sports scene is a mess in terms of. Like,
I mean, they all. I mean, he's gotten caught, but I mean, I'm just saying, man. A lot of athletes take bribes, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure. No, it's a thing.
Naive to think they don't.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they like fix some things up in college, man. It's kind of like a mess. Like they're not like allowed to make money off their name and stuff like that. Like it's just like there's like a lot like these young guys are kind of like I don't want to say it, they're kind of like narrow-minded in the sense like they can't like really like branch out like from their career, especially that's when they're gonna start to get popularized. But like you said, like James Wiseman, I mean he's definitely the top pick in this draft. But I think they should go really the opposite direction here. I think this draft isn't really deep at all. I really do not feel comfortable with whoever the top picks are going to be. Like compared to last year, I mean, you had John Morant, Zion Williamson. You just knew that these guys were going to be great players. Here, it's a lot of question marks. So what do you do in this situation, especially when you have players like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, who are all over 30 years old? Bringing in a rookie, it just doesn't fit their timeline whatsoever. So I would just say just trade the second overall pick, maybe attach Andrew Wiggins to it, and trade for some sort of star player. I don't know who that's going to be right now. I don't know who is willing to take that type of package, but I just think they should really just trade it. If they were to draft someone, I definitely agree with you. James Wiseman is the guy to go with, but it just doesn't fit their timeline especially if they want to win now in a new city, in a new arena, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I definitely see your point there.
Yeah, for sure. So, with the Warriors, I mean, let's be honest. Like, do you think they're going to be kind of near the top of the West next year? Like when things are all said and done.
I feel like they can. Again, it's really going to come down to what's going to really dictate how far they go again is who they get in at that center position. I feel like, again, with Wiggins, with Curry, with Clay, I feel like they have a chance to be, a top 4 seed in the West. And I'm just saying top 4 just because, Clay has had like the longest road back. It's an ACL, and that's brutal for an athlete to come back from. And not necessarily that it's obviously impossible, because we've seen athletes do it, but it's hard. You got to get your leggings in, and
Yeah.
this guy hasn't played basketball in over a year. Steph might be a little rusty, and I feel like they're going to need time to be able to gel with Wiggins as well. I mean, it's all going to be a process. I don't think that it's going to really mess their flow too much, to the point where, they're finishing in the bottom of the
Yeah,
eighth,
for sure.
the eighth teams in the playoffs. But, I feel like they'll be in the top 4, without a doubt.
Yeah, especially because the West is like loaded. Like right now, like when you're talking about the top teams with like the Clippers, the Lakers, the Denver Nuggets, there's just a lot of good teams on the upcoming, and it's not like 2 years ago where it felt like the Warriors were going to win every single year. They have some competition now. They definitely have a lot of competition. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how it all folds out next season. Ready to move on to the next team?
Yes, sir.
And we're going to be going with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, Joe, this team, very disappointing over the last almost 2 decades at this point. Very, very disappointing. 1 playoff appearance in 16 years. What move should they make this offseason?
I think you draft LaMelo. You got to draft
LaMelo
LaMelo.
Ball.
I think you got to draft LaMelo, just because of the fact that, I agree with you that in this draft, there's not a lot of guarantees, man. But if I were to give you one, I think that, LaMelo Ball is going to be fire, man, when he comes out of the gates, man. I feel like, I think his dad has learned a lesson, and that is, don't. The guy's gonna talk, man. Ball's gonna talk. The dad's gonna talk.
Yeah.
But he's not. We're not seeing him. Notice how we're not seeing him as much as we did when Lonzo was coming out.
Yeah.
Because Lonzo had it rough, man, because of his dad. And I feel like, in a sense, he's taking a step back. I think LaMelo. I think he's learned from his mistakes, and he's gonna let LaMelo play, man. And I feel like, more than anything, LaMelo, being the third kid, really got to learn a lot from his two brothers. Not want to say mistakes, but their learning curves. And I feel like he's taken that, and I think he's the most gifted of the 3. I feel like, years ago, and I was actually talking about this with my friend, that their dad actually said that LaMelo was the one that wasn't going to probably play in the NBA, which I thought was ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, he said that. He actually said that out of the 3. Obviously, he was wrong there, and LaMelo looks to be the best one out of the 3, man, without a doubt. He's got size, he can shoot, he's got range. I like what he can do on the defensive side of the ball. I feel like he can play defense, and I feel like for the Timberwolves to team him up with D'Angelo Russell, I think would be a very good combination. Obviously, it's going to still be a process, but I like LaMelo coming out. I'm not a real big fan of the Ball brothers, but I like LaMelo. I respect the game.
Yeah, for sure. Funny thing is, I have the exact same thing you had. I believe they should draft LaMelo Ball. Anthony Edwards is someone's name who is definitely like near the top of these draft boards. But from all the things I'm looking at, like, Anthony Edwards feels like he's just going to be like another version of, I don't know, just like a score first player who doesn't give a lick on defense. It feels like he's going to be the next Andrew Wiggins, from like what all I'm hearing. It's like basically someone who wants to have the ball at all times, who wants to score, and who doesn't want to really give the effort in to make up for it. And the Timberwolves all know all too well what they have with an Andrew Wiggins. They literally just traded him this season. Like, they already went through that process. And I think with like a lot of unknowns in this draft, drafting someone who, one, can bring in money, because it's freaking LaMelo Ball. Just the Ball name can bring
man. Yeah,
could just bring in money to the stadium. Pair him with D'Angelo Russell, and even though like I talked to the Daily Dribble podcast last week, they said that his defense needs a lot of work, because they watched the Australian league and stuff like that. They said he definitely needs a lot of work on that end. But he has the tools. I mean, this guy's like, what, 6'7", 6'8"?
Yeah, I mean, he's got the size, man, and he's real rangy, man. He's got some long arms. I feel like we talk about coaching mattering, man, and I like to talk about this a lot on my channels, whether it's a podcast or YouTube. Coaching matters, and if you watch the NFL, it matters the same thing from NFL going into the NBA.
Yeah.
Wiggins, can you agree with me that he looks a little bit of a different kind of a player playing under Steve Kerr?
Yeah, 100%. Because
Exactly.
the championship mentality, 100% with that. I definitely agree with you there.
So now now what's really going to matter now is if the Timberwolves are able to coach up, LaMelo. That's going to be my biggest concern more than anything.
Yeah, because he definitely has the talent there. I mean, they did bring in D'Angelo Russell this year. They still have Karl Anthony Towns. Like they have
Yes,
pieces. They definitely have the pieces there. But can coaching get it done? I believe the coach
that's
that they
the
have right
question.
now is Saunders. I believe like Flip Saunders' son. I
Yeah,
think his name is I forgot his name 100% to be for real
yeah,
with you. But
yeah.
if they can make it work, I mean, they definitely have like a nice like three-headed monster there that can like really propel them into the future. But it's the Timberwolves, so it's really hard to say
Yeah,
that.
so it's going to be hard. It's definitely, I agree with you.
Yeah, I just do not trust the Timberwolves at this point. But I still think they need to draft him just because if you're gonna take a chance on someone, might as well take a chance on someone that's gonna bring in money and also just has like the most potential out of all the guys in in the draft.
Yeah.
So, are you ready to move on to the next team?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next team we're gonna be talking about is the New Orleans Pelicans. This team had one of the easiest schedules in the bubble, and a lot of people thought they're gonna compete for a play-in tournament spot. They completely flamed out. They played absolutely horrible in the bubble. They got rid of their coach Alvin Gentry, brought in Stan Van
Yes.
Gundy this offseason. Lots of changes in this organization. Joe, what's the one move you think they should make going forward?
I think they should try to. I think they should cut their ties with Lonzo, man, and try to get Killian Hayes in the draft. To be honest,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I
Elaborate
think
on
so.
that. Yeah, elaborate on that. How what do you see in
So
Killian Hayes like going forward?
from I feel like there was a lot of potential in this player. Years back, he was the MVP in the FIBA World Cup under
Yeah,
16.
yeah,
So again, when I look at that, obviously, I've seen that this guy's been around different kinds of athletes at such a very young age, and just I like his shot. I like his shot and like the way that he's able to shoot. A lot of people think that there's bust potential there, but you know what? There's bust potential in all these
everywhere,
athletes.
everywhere.
There's not a
Yeah,
single person that's a surefire thing. If I were to tell you a surefire thing, I would probably say LaMelo, but I wouldn't even feel very confident in that.
yeah,
But I like Hayes, and the only reason why I say Hayes is because that's going to be within the range I feel like the Pelicans can really get up to without having to give up the house. I feel like cutting ties with Lonzo. I feel like Lonzo was a very big disappointment for them, and it's just you gotta admit when a player's got it, and he doesn't, man. I don't think he does as far as the shooting aspect of this. And the Pelicans right now, they need people that can get you buckets, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I do like agree with the fact that Lonzo so far has been disappointing in his career. But I think in a new situation, especially with the mess that's happened last year, I mean, Zion Williamson not having like come until like mid January and stuff like that, and now having a new coach and stuff, I think like although I believe that maybe Lonzo is probably one of the trade candidates they should go out and trade away, I think they should just give it a chance. I mean, with a full roster, you definitely I definitely think like someone like Lonzo Ball and his like skill set can definitely work. And I think like trading like different pieces away to get maybe someone that can fit their system is of a more of like a like that should like make sense, especially for the beginning of the season. I think if things
Yeah.
don't work out by the trade deadline, maybe trade Lonzo Ball then and there. But right now, if we're looking at like the season right now, hoping to have a full season from Zion Williamson, I think a trade definitely makes sense. And for me, trading for Josh Richardson of the Philadelphia 76ers is the one move I believe they should make this offseason.
Okay.
Yeah, the 76ers definitely have to get rid of a lot of different contracts there. The Tobias Harris contract is horrible.
Yes. Terrible.
The Al Horford contract absolutely terrible. And if you can like bring it, and I think like with Daryl Morey at the helm, they're gonna definitely try to make a bunch of moves. So someone like Josh Richardson, who can't really like, who's an okay shooter, who's a really good
Yeah.
defender, I don't think would really want to. I don't think Daryl Morey would want to keep him around. So if you're the Pelicans, bring him in, pair him with Lonzo. Both those guys can play well defensively. I think Josh Richardson is a significantly better shooter than Lonzo. But pair him, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and I'm assuming Jackson Hayes at center next year. If you like have those five guys, I mean, bringing in Josh Richardson, I think just makes it a perfect fit, and
Okay.
and stuff like that. So what do you? I don't know. How do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely like your take on that. I like to pull the trigger, man. Sometimes,
Yeah,
as far as like patience is concerned,
Yeah.
You know, I think we've seen what we needed to see, but I feel like you could still move them in the trade deadline, so that would work for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Pelicans. I mean, they have a bright young future ahead of them. So if they have Zion Williamson, they really don't want to mess that up. So let's see what
Yeah,
they're going to be
definitely.
able to do going forward. The next team we're going to be talking about right now, we're going to be talking about the Sacramento Kings, and very much like the Minnesota Timberwolves, a very disappointing team over the last 2 decades. Joe, what one move do you think is going to like fix this mess for a franchise?
I think they should get Tobias Harris, man. I think so. I
Tobias
think
Harris,
getting to
interesting.
Yeah, I think they should get Tobias Harris just because, let's piggyback off your point. 76ers are going to need to start dumping some of those salaries. Tobias Harris contract, you touched up on that. Terrible contract, man. It's
Yeah.
hurting them in the cap. I feel like if you get Tobias Harris, it allows Bagley to move back to the center position, and will give him a solid backcourt with him there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Tobias Harris definitely showed flashes, especially. I mean, there's a reason why the 76ers traded for him last year.
Yeah,
He was like a great player for the LA Clippers, and they thought that he was able to carry that to the 76ers. Unfortunately, last year it wasn't so great. Like
not really. Yeah.
it was honestly so hard to watch. Like one of the guys on the Daily Dribble podcast, Nick and I, we both share the same sentiment. Tobias Harris is just one of those like players that it's hard to watch. Like he doesn't want to shoot the three. He always wants to shoot mid-range jumpers. And in the
Yeah,
NBA, you can't really do that. But moving to a team like the Sacramento Kings, have him pair with a good point guard like De'Aaron Fox, maybe it does make sense. I definitely like
and
think.
they got some shooters, man. They got some shooters, and I feel like he's not going to be counted on to be able to have to hit those deep threes or have to even attempt those. I feel like it'll really help. It'll help that team a lot.
Yeah. And what's funny is that Buddy Hield has been really like disgruntled with the Kings organization throughout the entire year. So it feels like a perfect swap if you like ask me. Like that's actually like not a
Absolutely, there
that
you
feels
go.
like not a bad idea. That's a good idea, but I think like I went kind of simpler. I went like within the organization. I
Yeah.
think because Buddy Hield is basically on his way out. If he doesn't get traded this year, I'm going to be absolutely surprised. But I
Oh
think,
yeah,
yeah, but I think they just need to resign Bogdan Bogdanovic. He's been like a great backcourt partner with De'Aaron Fox, and I just think like within like this Kings organization, there's not a lot of bright spots. I mean, De'Aaron Fox is going to probably be like their point guard of the future. Marvin Bagley, if he can get through his injury issues, he could definitely fix that. And I think if there's like one for sure thing, at least that they've seen over the last few years, is that Bogdanovic is going to give you 15 to 17 points a game each season, and you
yeah,
just need like just someone like a scoring guard that can help out with Fox. So, I mean, I like your idea of bringing in someone like the 76ers who is going to be a very much a selling team.
for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, just like if you just want, I just want like very simple, stay in the organization, just make sure you bring Bogdanovic back to the team.
Gotcha.
Next team we're going to be talking about is the San Antonio Spurs. This team, first time missing the playoffs, and Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong in this. I believe 22 years. I think it was like 20.
I believe it's been 22 years, man. It's you know what? I think it was 21, man. But it's probably the longest streak, man. One of the longest streaks that we had ever seen. People in San Antonio, pretty much. I'm a San Antonio native right now.
Yeah,
It's what they expected, man.
yeah. I mean, it was a rough year last year, but they do have some young pieces going forward that actually look like they could be really good NBA players. But Joe, what do you think is the one move they should make this offseason?
I think with DeRozan's potential exit, I would try to get in Gordon Hayward. If
Gordon
fills a
Hayward.
position of need, if DeRozan is let go, and I feel like Hayward with the Celtics, I don't know if I've told you this, but I just really wasn't a huge fan of it. I feel
Yeah.
like if anything, it hurt the team a little bit more as far as chemistry is concerned. Again, my personal opinion. But if I were the Spurs, I would get Hayward. I would get Hayward there.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad idea. The only thing with the DeRozan contract is it is a player option for like 28 million this year.
Yeah.
Whether he accepts that or not is actually like yet to be seen. I think he's probably gonna accept it because it makes the most sense. I mean, to take the most money as you can. I mean, he's probably not gonna make that much more like in his career after
On the
this.
mark.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm saying, well, they
yeah,
could always, trade
yeah.
him
Oh yeah,
away.
no,
They
yeah,
they
makes
may be
sense.
looking
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah, for sure. I do believe that DeRozan's on his way out, but I think it's going to be something along a sign and trade option, and I think that they're going to be able to trade him to the Orlando Magic, and I think they should bring in someone like Aaron Gordon. Um,
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon, I think, has kind of plateaued as a player on the Orlando Magic. He showed some flashes. I mean, he's a great athlete and stuff like that. But if you just look over to like the last few seasons, he's kind of been on a downward trend. Like
Yeah.
like the 2017-2018 season, like that's probably his best year,
He,
averaging
yeah.
17 points a game, 8 rebounds, and that's when he got the contract from the Magic. Ever since then, he's got 16 points a game in 2018-2019, and just last season, 14 points a
17.
game.
No, 14. He was
14
14.
points a game. Like he's just been on a steady decline, and I think we've seen the best of Aaron Gordon in Orlando. I think he could still be a good player, but I just don't think it's going to be in Orlando. Bring him to a San Antonio team who is one of the best organizations in terms of developing players, and I think they can maybe get the best out of Aaron Gordon. And if he doesn't, I mean, it's not that big of a contract to really like eat up for the next few years, but at least it's someone that you could take a chance on, and at least like he fits the timeline of your young players.
I
Any
agree on
thoughts
that
on
one.
that? Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely agree on that one. I like to just I think Hayward would be a good option if they move off DeRozan, just because again I feel like it's gonna just fill that position and need there. But I like Gordon too.
yeah. That is not, yeah. Both, I mean, both ideas are pretty good. At least like both of them at least is gonna fill a spot and stuff like that. And who knows? I mean, I don't think the San Antonio Spurs are gonna make the playoffs next year, but they always seem to surprise people with how good they do. So that could definitely still be a possibility. We're going to move on to the next team, and we're going to be talking about the Phoenix Suns, who, although had a pretty poor season, the bubble, man, the bubble Suns, as people like to call them, 8-0 in the
Yeah.
bubble, shown a lot of promise. What do you think they should do going off that stellar run in the bubble?
Believe it or not, man, I'm not taking anything that happened in the bubble seriously besides the Lakers winning the championship. I'm gonna go on the record and saying that, man. I'm not
Yeah.
taking anything. You know how I feel, and we're gonna get into it, man. We're
Yeah.
gonna get into it later.
Yeah.
But because I got some things
Yeah.
to get off my chest here.
Yeah.
But if I'm the Suns, man, I try to acquire Bradley Beal,
Nice.
give Booker a good veteran presence, give him some help more than
Yeah.
anything. And if you're really gonna take Booker serious and make him the franchise star that he is, I think he's a superstar, man. I just feel like he's like those big time moments. I feel like not even gonna say that. I'm gonna correct myself there. Not lacking big time moments because he's a baller, man.
He's a
But he
baller.
lacks help, man. He's lacked help. He's got a lot of young players around him, man. But I mean, Ricky Rubio isn't the veteran help that I think he should get. I feel like Bradley Beal, who should be on the market for the Wizards. We'll talk about that when we get to
Yeah.
the Wizards. But I feel like getting a veteran like him could really help Booker.
Yeah, definitely. Bradley Beal has been all over the trade rumors, not just this offseason. You can look back to last season, even the season before. I feel like he's always like a top three name in terms of the trade block. And honestly, it feels like this summer. I say summer, this offseason, like this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know it's weird.
it's weird, but yeah, he's definitely going to be on the trade market, and a lot of teams are going to be suitors. Unlike you, I think that this, like, although there's not
Oh
much to
my.
go. No, honestly, no. I think there's a little bit of hope. I think, like, with the Phoenix Suns, I mean, there hasn't been much hope in that organization since the Steve Nash days.
Yeah,
And when they
for sure.
finally got Devin Booker with the 13th pick, it felt like things were going up. But over the last few years, they haven't been able to really like hit on draft picks. I mean, they drafted Dragon Bender at number 4, and he's out of the league
Oh yeah,
already. He's out of the league already, and
yeah,
like it just felt like there's a lot of bad things happened to the Suns. This past bubble has been their biggest achievement in the last like 4 or 5 years, and I think like
yeah,
even though like I mean it's a eight, like it's the bubble. I mean it's hard to take things seriously, but I think like there's some sort of confidence in that organization that maybe we have something here, and maybe if we just let these guys go together, because that 5-man unit of Rubio, Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and DeAndre Ayton,
yeah.
for some reason, like played so well together. Like people like Cam Johnson, who people thought he was supposed to be a second-round pick, but the Suns took him in the first round. He looked like a not a bad player. Mikal Bridges,
Yeah.
they took a chance on him as well. And for me, like this offseason, I think you could maybe try and build out a momentum by just adding another 3-point shooter. And for me, that's adding Davis Bertans.
Okay.
from the
Okay.
Washington Wizards. We're both looking at Washington guys. You're looking at Bradley Beal. I'm looking at Bertans. I
That's
think
not a bad move. That's a good move.
I think that if you pair him beside DeAndre Ayton, just give him all that space in the world on the inside. I think he could be a 20 and 10 guy if you just give him the space. Bring in Davis
Okay.
Bertans, who is one of the best shooters in the league. Probably not going to be too expensive. Probably around the $10 to $15 million range. Bring him in. He's gonna stretch the floor for you guys. Ricky Rubio is one of the better passing point guards in the league. He's definitely gonna find all of these options, and I think that even though like the Suns, the bubble, like you said, it's hard to really take advantage of.
The bubble Suns.
Yeah, it's. I just think that you build off this momentum and just try to see if you can if there's something there. Maybe wait till the trade deadline if things don't work out again. But I think there's a little glimmer of hope, and they should just try and take advantage of it for the time being. Okay, so we move on to the next team, and we're going to be talking about the Memphis Grizzlies, who I don't know about you. I thought they're going to be the worst team in the league last year.
I had hope for them, man, just because Morant, I feel like he added excitement to that team.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean,
we'll see. But it was a rookie, so I
Yeah.
don't blame you, to be honest with you.
yeah, I thought they were going to be the worst team in the league last year. Completely exceeded my expectations. They were basically in the 8th seed for 60% of the season. And then when the bubble came, the Jaren Jackson injury, they just didn't play well at all. They weren't able to make it to the playoffs. But even still, I think there's a lot of good things to build off that organization. And if you just let them grow, I think they're going to be a good team going forward. But Joe, what do you think is one move they should make this offseason?
So what I think they should do, man, is I feel like they need to add another shooter.
Yeah.
To help out Morant and just help get someone that can respect the shot. I like someone I really like is for them would be JJ Redick. To be honest with you, I don't think Redick may want to go there, man. But I like Redick. I think he's a disgusting shooter, man. Whenever left open,
one of the best.
Yeah, dirty, man, dirty.
Yeah.
I feel like if I would try to see if the Pelicans would be willing to trade to part ways with him, man.
Yeah. That's not a bad option. I don't think they should make too many moves to deal with that, to mess with that core. I think they're all young guys. You might as well just let them grow together, and they're gonna turn to those guys themselves. So yeah, I agree with you. Not making a major move to really shake things up is not really the best idea. But for me, I think one trade they should maybe look into is trading for Kelly Oubre of the Phoenix Suns. He didn't play in the bubble, which is kind of surprising because he was one of their better players throughout the season.
Yeah.
But I think with him not being in the bubble, I think that makes him kind of expendable for the Phoenix Suns because they kind of did decently well without him.
Yeah.
So if the Memphis Grizzlies try and pick him up, I think he could be a really good addition to that forward role. And I've expressed my discontent of Dillon Brooks in the past. He's a Canadian guy, but he's honestly the way I like to describe Dillon Brooks is he thinks he's Kobe. The type of shots he takes, he really thinks he's Kobe, but he's just not Kobe. And
the furthest thing from him.
Yeah, honestly, he's a good player. He has some good qualities about him, but I wouldn't want him taking 15 to 20 shots a game in my starting lineup. If you move him to the bench, bring Kelly Oubre, who is a good defender, who can score when you can ask him to. I mean, he's a constant 15-point per game scorer. I just think it's a good addition, and I think transitioning Dillon Brooks to a 6-man role would be a lot better for this team.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I know it's really hard. I want to like Dillon Brooks because he's Canadian, but he's just so annoying to watch on the court, man.
I'm laughing just because you're not the first person to tell me that. That's why.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dillon Brooks is really frustrating. Okay, we're going to move on to the playoff teams in the West now. We're going to look at the number 8 seed from last year. We're going to talk about the Portland Trailblazers. Had a really rough season in terms of injuries in the beginning. The bubble really helped a lot of their guys recover from their injuries. So by the time the bubble came around, they were able to get back Yusuf Nurkic. They were able to get back Zach Collins. And, they still have Dame and CJ there. What do you think they should do this offseason?
I would try to keep Hassan Whiteside, man. I think he's slated to be a free agent, but I like Whiteside, man. I feel like he's just as good, if not maybe just a little bit better than Nurkic, man. I would try to keep Whiteside. I wouldn't really want to mess with it too much. If anything else, man, I would try to get maybe another shooter to help Dame and CJ. But, because I like Whiteside, man. I would try to keep him. I feel like the Melo thing for this team obviously not going to work out again. I feel like that Carmelo playoff bubble run that he did was like a one-time thing, man. I feel like
Yeah,
I wouldn't really hinge too much on it. That's my
yeah,
take, though.
yeah. I mean, Hassan Whiteside definitely, like, in the absence of Nurkic, played pretty well. I mean,
Yeah,
he led the league in blocks this year. I believe it was like 2.7 blocks per game. He
yeah,
played pretty good for them there, and there were some games in the bubble where he like just won them the games. I believe that game one versus the Los Angeles Lakers, this guy had like
yeah,
5 or 6 blocks in that game. Like this guy, like
yeah.
I mean Nurkic, I disagree with you. I think like Nurkic is still the better player, but having Whiteside off the
Well,
bench, yeah,
it'll help.
yeah, it will help. It will definitely help. But yeah, I think like he would be definitely a good person to keep to bring back. In terms of people coming in, I think they should sign someone like Danilo Gallinari to help out like the scoring option,
Okay.
to help out the scoring. He has, I think, like he said in an interview, I'm not sure if it was last week or the week before. He talked about how he's made a bunch of money in his career. I mean, he's like, I had to check his payroll. He's made over $100 million in his career, so he's definitely like had, like he definitely has the money. And he says that like he's willing to take a pay cut to go and like fight for like be on a winning franchise. And I think if the Trailblazers bring him in, I mean, you talked about Melo like slightly. I mean, I don't really take much into it. If you really look at the advanced stats, Melo like hurt them more than he helped them, like
Yeah,
a lot of the time. But if you bring in Danilo Gallinari, I mean, he's basically a better version of what Melo gave you last year. He's more
yeah,
consistent.
for sure.
He's more consistent. He can hit the three ball a bit more consistently, and
Yes.
he's not as bad of a defender as Melo. He can actually like stay at least like stay in front of people. I mean, he's almost 7 foot tall, so like he can at least like stay in front of like the some bigger guys in the league. And I think like just getting like more scoring, like you said, to help out Dame and Melo will definitely. I'm sorry, not Dame and Melo, Dame and CJ, um, will definitely help them. So I think bringing on like Danilo Gallinari, especially if you can get him on a cheaper deal, would definitely be a good option. You ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we're going to be going to the next team, and we're going to be talking about the Dallas Mavericks, who have taken leaps and bounds with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic has looked already like a top 10 NBA player this year, and
Look at me.
Luka mania exactly. They they have like a lot of good things going about them this year. Joe, what do you think they should do?
I would try to get a veteran center like Marcus Salman.
Marcus All, nice.
Yes.
Yeah, like what do you like? Evaluate like elaborate on that. What do you think like he
Um,
could bring to that team?
so with Marcus, I feel like they need a better center. I would move Porzingis to the four.
Yeah,
And I feel like just a veteran player like Marc Gasol's presence would really help the younger side of this basketball team. Luca, young guy again. Uh, Decision making has been a little bit of an issue in my opinion. I
yeah,
feel like this team has a lot of momentum from this previous season, man, because they had it. I feel like they could have possibly beaten the Clippers, man, if it wasn't for that Porzingis
yeah,
injury. So they need to have a good, big, strong man, just in case if Porzingis also gets hurt. They need that veteran presence for a young player like Luca.
yeah,
I feel like Gasol obviously has had a lot of big moments whether he was helping the Raps or being like the
yeah.
heart and soul, in my opinion, of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Hundred
And I
percent.
feel like overall he's a good, quiet, mature veteran that
Yeah.
will add and help with the culture that Dallas is building.
Yeah, for sure. I was definitely looking at that center position because mostly due to the fact that I've criticized Porzingis' defense from the center
Exactly.
position a lot this season. I just don't think he's strong enough to deal with the Anthony Davises, the Nikola Jokic's of the
Okay.
world, and like having Marc Gasol. If he stays in the NBA, that's the big question here with Marc Gasol. There was
Yeah.
lots of rumors of him maybe wanting to finishing his career in Spain. It's not official yet, but if he stays in the NBA, I think that is definitely one player that the Dallas Mavericks should go after. I think they should go for a veteran as well. There's a lot of like centers, and I think that can like help them, like especially in this like free agency class. But I look to a guard here, and I think if you want to like bring build some camaraderie like in the team, I think you could bring in someone like a Goran Dragic, a fellow nation, like a fellow national teammate for Luka Doncic, both playing for the Slovenian national team. They
Both of
already,
them did?
yeah, they both played for them.
Okay.
And Goran Dragic has like every time he talks about Luka Doncic, it's like the biggest praise in the world that you can like give a player. Like this guy absolutely loves him, And I think bringing him in, I think like already like they already have that connection from playing on the team together, and I think it's a more stable option at the guard position than Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah,
is basically a sniper. Like whenever he like gets the ball, he's probably going to shoot it. So if you bring someone like Goran Dragic, who we just saw in the playoffs, this guy was the leading scorer on an NBA Finals Miami Heat team, and
for sure.
yeah, so if you bring him in with Luka Doncic, I think like that can like maybe elevate the Mavericks to possibly a top 5 position. I do like your idea of bringing in like another big man for sure, but I think like just like making Luka happy as well, bringing a fellow statesman for him would be a good idea. Yeah.
All right.
All right. We're gonna move on to the Utah Jazz, and one thing that you could, I guess, like look back on this year was the whole COVID thing. I mean, Rudy Gobert, that whole mess. Like he was the first person to get COVID, and after he had kind of had the beef with his own teammate Donovan Mitchell, and all that
Yeah.
good stuff. And even still, I mean, they still put up a good fight in the playoffs. They took the Denver Nuggets to 7 games, although they blew a 3-1 lead. They still like
They
had
did
a
blow one.
yeah, they did blow a 3-1 lead. They still have a lot of good things going forward. What do you think they should do this offseason?
I would try to get CP3, man. I would try to make a deal to get CP3 from the
Really?
Thunder. I feel like the way, and I know we're gonna talk about the Thunder next. But I think that OKC is willing to deal. I think CP3. I think that's a massive contract. What I feel like Chris Paul would do to this team for this team though is get them one step closer to get themselves in contention for a title. Again,
Yeah,
good, calm, mature veteran.
yeah,
Chris Paul, obviously, we saw was one of the best stories in the NBA last season. I
yeah,
feel like for the Rockets, they sent him like left for dead over there, man, in
yeah,
Oklahoma City. And what he did was just prove him wrong, and he showed everybody that he still has miles left. And I was truly grateful. CP3, love what he did with my Oklahoma City Thunder, man. It was awesome to see, but I feel like it's time to move on. I feel like the
yeah,
contract, is bad for the Thunder. And I feel like the Jazz would really benefit from having such a veteran player like him with Donovan Mitchell with that basketball team, because I don't think that the Jazz would trade Gobert or Mitchell. Obviously, they're not
no
going to
way,
trade Mitchell.
no,
That's insane. But I don't
yeah,
think they're going to trade Gobert because obviously he gets a lot of rap, man. He gets a lot of rap for
yeah, he does.
that issue, man. But Rudy Gobert's still a good player, man, and I
Yes,
feel like he's a pillar for that team. So I would get CP3.
yeah. Quick question about like the whole CP3 thing. Like, what type of deal do you see like happening to try and get CP3? Do you think they're gonna move off Conley? Do you think they're gonna include other players? Like, what do you think? Like, what would they have to do to
So
give up?
I would think they would move off Conley, man. To be honest,
Yeah,
I think they would do a swap there, and I
yeah,
feel like the way, because I don't want to really touch up too much on the Thunder right now,
yeah,
but I feel like sending Conley in with maybe another pick would be good, or just an even swap again, just because that contract for CP3, from what people have told me, it's a big one to take on for the salary cap that the Thunder aren't really meeting right now.
yeah. I mean, that is definitely like a good idea. Having CP3 pair with Donovan Mitchell honestly would be a top backcourt in this league. I think that would be
For sure.
really, really good for them. Um, I think like with this team, with the Utah Jazz, like I think the biggest problem that we saw against the Denver Nuggets was that without Bojan Bogdanovic, who had shoulder surgery before the bubble, they just lacked so much wing depth. And
Yeah.
when you have Royce O'Neal starting, I mean he's a good player, but he's not a starting caliber player in the NBA. That's not going to be an issue next year because they're definitely going to have Bojan Bogdanovic back. He's going to slide into that small forward position. That shouldn't be a problem. But I think after seeing this year, they need to add more depth. So I mean, I think they're going to actually not like mess with the roster too much and try to do it one more season. But I think for them, like just getting depth at that wing position, and I think they should bring in an NBA champion. I think they should bring in Contavious Caldwell Pope. I know
KCP. All right.
this guy gets a lot of like we talk about Gobert getting rap. I mean KCP gets rap
A
like
lot.
a
A lot.
lot, a lot of rap. And I think like he showed out in the finals. I mean, if you look at like just like certain games in the playoffs where he just went off. At times he was the third best player for the Los Angeles Lakers. Like he was always part of like always like doing well not only on the offensive end but on the defensive end. And I think like he may or I think he's definitely an unrestricted free agent this summer. So I think bringing him into the Utah Jazz, not a bad idea, especially just like helping with the wing depth. And not only is he going to be able to shoot the basketball, he could definitely defend as well. So KCP to the Jazz, not much change in the starting lineup, but I still think just getting depth would definitely help that team.
Awesome, man. Yeah, definitely. That definitely also would make sense there for them.
Yeah. And yeah, let's move on to the next team. And like he said, he didn't want to talk about it too much going not yet because we're going to be talking about his team. It's your team, right? The OKC Thunder?
Yes, sir. That is my team, man. OKC, baby.
Yeah. Cinderella type story this year. No one thought they were going to be this good. No one thought they were going to be this good. Chris Paul showed once again why he is the point guard. He can make things work in an organization if you give him the right pieces. But they're definitely going into a rebuild this year. You know, they fired Billy Donovan. You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as a building block. A lot of trade rumors surrounding Chris Paul. What do you think they should do? Like, what do you think your team should do this offseason?
They're going to continue to blow it up, man. And what I want to see the Oklahoma City Thunder do, man. And here's the thing, man. We touch up on this. You touch a lot about this, that when you're drafting in the NBA draft, yearly TV, there's usually about maybe, let's just say, is it fair for me to tell you that, it's about 3 players that are like, it's a solid nail, and then the rest is just a crapshoot? Is it fair to say that?
Yeah, like, at least in most years. This year is kind of weird just because, like, you can, like, make an argument for, like, maybe 4 or 5 players to be the number 1 pick. But, yeah, mostly there's, like, usually, like a top
it's about
3.
maybe 2 to 3 solids, and then after that, it's a crapshoot. Here's the thing with the Thunder, man.
Yeah.
They got to do something with those picks, man. They got to trade them off to get a star, man. Yeah. The Sixers, man. An issue with the Sixers right now. Maybe package that to get, Simmons or Embiid. Wouldn't be a particular fan of that, but that's just an example, man. They got to package some of those picks to get themselves a star over there in OKC because they are about to go on a full-on rebuild. I don't blame them. Yeah. I feel like they're going to, move off CP3. I feel like they're going to end up moving off Dennis Schroeder as well, man. It's going to be a sad rebuild for, Thunder fans this year, but hey, what does it matter, man? Last year was supposed to be a rebuild, and it happens, man. Yeah. I think this year they just gotta move some of those draft picks and try to get a star, man. A star, maybe not a sexy name, but you got to do something with those draft picks because what does it matter if you have 10 draft picks, man? If you if you whiff on nine of them. Yeah, that's just my view.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that the Oklahoma City Thunder could do this year. I know that you're gonna have to trade for a star eventually. I just don't think that this year's the year. Last year was supposed to be the rebuild. Last year was supposed to be the rebuild, like you said. That the plans kind of changed because of that. They were what, the 5th seed this year, I believe. They were the 5th seed. So I just think that because last year wasn't really a rebuild year, just go in full in on the rebuild this year. Just trade just blow it all up. Get as many picks as possible, and then hope that you're maybe a top 3 pick next year. Get that guy, like help him build grow alongside Shai Gilgeous, and then just boom, everything is gonna
for sure.
I think obviously like there's no point of having all those picks, and I think the Thunder are smart enough to know you're not gonna draft everyone. You're just not gonna draft like
no, there's no way, man. There's no way. I mean, Sam Presti's like the MVP in drafting, though. I'll give him that. He's drafted 3 MVP players. Jesus. But, I mean, it didn't count to anything, man. And, it sucks. CP3 leaving sucks because I really like CP3, man. I really got behind him and everything he did. But I'll tell you what, man. Yeah. It's not going to hurt more than KD. Yeah. It's not going to hurt more than KD.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. And just honestly, just use this year as a build-off year. Just get as many picks as possible. And then just next year, once you get like whatever pick you get next year, help them like get that to help build with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I think the Thunder going forward, but like I think this year is probably going to be like a horrible year for them. But I think it's going to be a good thing that it's going to be a horrible year for them. I know it's going to be hard to watch as a fan, but it's going to be for a better cause. It's going to be for a better cause.
Oh, for sure. Man, it's the game, man. Sometimes
it's the game. It is exactly. So, yeah, I mean, there's not like one move I can say that they should make this offseason, but just trade as many players you can to get picks. Sure. Just get picks as much as possible. And then next year, that's when you can start like maybe like just setting the blueprint for the team. Okay, now we're going to go into the top 4 teams in the West now, and we're going to be starting off with the Houston Rockets, man. There's a lot. Right,
man. Man, I was saving it, man. I was saving it for this, man. The Houston Rockets, man. Yeah. I'm getting into this right now. Yeah, they need to get rid of Russell Westbrook, man. They need to get a real Russell Westbrook, man.
Yeah.
There's multiple games, man, in which Russ pretty much cost the Rockets, and in many occasions cost them games in the bubble, man. I feel like
I agree. Yeah.
Doesn't have it, man. Fantastic to watch. Would I pay a ticket to go out and watch a Russell Westbrook play in a basketball game? Absolutely, man. It's entertaining, man.
Yeah.
But reality is, man, he's not a true MVP player, man. He's more of an MV me, okay? All about the stats, man. He's straight up, man, all about the stats, man. This guy, man, is ridiculous, man. There's been declines, and he's the kind of person that can't let the ego – and I'm saying this, man, because you've seen it, man.
Yeah.
You know, he taught me that people will eventually not really change, man. Yeah. He'll go back to old habits, man. Try to take deep threes when he's not that kind of person, man. He misses shots when it really matters, and when it starts to get into crunch time, man, he's not playoff built. He's not really playoff built, man. Multiple games in which, you know, Russell Westbrook was the reason, man, that the Thunder were in that series, man.
Yeah.
Not only because not only did he play, but in the games that he did play, man, he was botching shots. And for me, and I'm sorry to say this right now, but the Oklahoma City Thunder are a better basketball team this past season because of Russell Westbrook left that organization, man. And I feel like it's just going to eventually hurt them, man. I mean, it sucked, man. As a Thunder fan, it sucked seeing Russ leave, but seeing that this team was able to become better once he left. And, hey, man, they got better.
Yeah.
Fair to say they got better?
Yes, I definitely agree that the Thunder did get better last year. And
so trade them off. Sorry, I got to get that out. Just trade them away. Get rid of them. Get rid of them.
This is what I like having you on the podcast. Like, you're the type of guy who would like says, "Let's get stuff done now," and I'm like, "Okay," and I'm just like kind of like the mediator. I'm like, "Let's wait things out."
Yeah, hold off. Hey, hold on.
Like I think that Russell Westbrook is definitely someone who should be traded if it doesn't work out. But again, I think with a new with a new management, new coach, just try it out. I mean, you never know. Maybe like something will click. You just never know. And I think if it doesn't work out,
for sure,
trade him. I mean, he's shown that, like, especially at the end of his Thunder run, that he just was kind of at times hurting the team more than helping. And I don't want to like blame I don't want to make any excuses for him in the bubble because he was absolutely horrible. At least
terrible, man. He cost his team like two to three games, man.
Yeah, I mean, he at the end of the day, he still got injured. He had COVID. Lots of different things happened. But but I always want to look at kind of like the good in players. And before the bubble, the January-February run that Russell Westbrook had, him and James Harden together, was phenomenal. They were absolutely fantastic playing together January, February. And I think that the momentum kind of got halted because of COVID. Like we could have been seeing this team in a completely different light if they were just starting to figure things out. And I think like with a new like different head coach, not having Mike D'Antoni there anymore, not having Daryl Morey, maybe you can build a more traditional team that can actually like work with this. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this. Yeah. I agree with you, my friend. I agree with you, my friend. Yeah. But here's the thing, man. And I have a saying this with my friends, man.
Yeah.
I don't really get to roll it out, man, so far yet in the podcast or YouTube world. But man, it's just who he is, man.
Yeah.
To quote Stephen A. Smith, man, it's just who he is, though, man. 2 seasons ago, man, when PG was going on that terrific run and people were like, hey, you know, Russ may have changed. You know, he's not taking too many shots. People will turn out to be exactly who we thought they are, man. And sure enough, he came back, man. So I understand what you're telling me, TV. I understand. But it's just
I understand
man.
Yeah, I understand your point too. That's why I'm holding him on a short leash. I'm giving him to the trade deadline. I'm giving him to the trade deadline. But right now, if you're going to make one move for me, honestly, just get a center that can shoot because you need space on the floor. Just get a center. Just get a like. I don't want to like make I don't want to make the major moves until maybe the trade deadline or next offseason. Just get a center that can shoot. And at least that that can like fill a hole. And I think that one player
should be the small ball.
Yeah, Aaron Baines. I think Aaron Baines is going to be a great addition for that team. Someone who is not horrible on the defensive end. And as seen on the Phoenix Suns, this guy can hit the 3-ball. I swear last year he hit like 8 threes in a game or something, and I was like, I just couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, Aaron Baines hitting 8 threes, what the heck? We know that he could shoot. And I think if you just add him to like Russ and like Harden, like you said, I'm gonna hold Rush to a short leash. I'm gonna hold him to a very, very short leash. But try to make it work, get Aaron Baines, and I think that should be just one move. But I completely agree with you. I mean, Russ is just one of those type of players that's probably not going to change for sure. But I would just give them even like a chance. Like, I mean, like you want to like trade them off right away. Like, I completely understand that, but I think just give it a chance. Just give it a small chance, especially with a new head coach. Let's move on to the next team, and we have the Denver Nuggets. This is
Right.
one of the most fun teams to watch, honestly, during the bubble. You like we've talked about this. You are not a fan of Jamal Murray, aren't you?
I'm not a fan of
Jamal Murray.
man.
Hey, I'm gonna say my thing afterwards. But what do you think they should do this offseason?
Look, man, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and tell all the Nuggets fans, no, you will not make it to a Western Conference Finals ever again for the next 5 years. Ever. Okay? They will not. No, they won't, man. They won't, man,
Yeah.
because a lot of people want to take this bubble so serious, man. Here's the thing, man.
Yeah.
And I was telling this to people. In the NFL, so I'm just gonna take a little step back,
Yeah.
tell you a little bit about the NFL.
Yeah.
So in the NFL, when players are going into the draft, they have these things called this thing called the combine. Obviously, you know what it is. TV,
Yeah.
the NBA has the same thing. It's a combine. That's where college players go out. They do a workout in front of multiple scouts. Okay, and they grade them heavy on that. How they perform. So after that, the college players have a pro day. College players have a pro day, and the scouts go in and grade them again. So if someone has a terrible combine and then has a fantastic pro day, people, grade them obviously regardless. And you actually grade them worse if they have a bad combine versus a solid pro day weeks later. Do you know why?
Why?
Because of the fact that it raises an alarm and says, okay, well, you're doing in the pro days, man, you're in your school, you're in your facility, you're with your receivers, you're with your players, you're with your coaches. And the combine, you're pretty much by yourself, man, and you're having to work out with multiple different players, man. So a lot of scouts grade people on those pro days worse if they perform better on their pro days than their combines, because they question themselves and say, okay, well, why can't you do this in this other kind of environment? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I understand it completely.
Okay.
I understand.
So why in the world, bro, are the Denver Nuggets performing like this in a bubble, man?
Yeah.
In the bubble. Going off, going crazy, man.
Yeah.
Double 3-1 comebacks, man.
Hey, wait, before you go forward, I just want to point out something really quickly.
Go for it.
They were one game away from the Western Conference Finals the year before. You have to remember that too. The year before, they were one game away from the Western Conference
Conference. But they didn't do it, man. But they
were
didn't do it.
Hey, but they were one win away. It's not like they weren't here before. They were one win away.
They were, man. But no Western. There's no way in hell, man. If the NBA season, I hate saying no coulda, woulda, shoulda, man, bro. Yeah. I hate saying that, man. Because I'm definitely not going to sit here and tell you, be an excuse maker. They won, man. They beat them. They beat the Clippers. They beat the Jazz. They won, right? They won. It happened. Yeah. It is what it is, bro. Yeah. But there's no way in the world that would have happened if the NBA would have been under its normal playoff. God. Sorry. It just gets me so emotional. There's no way, man. There's no way. So I don't think anyone that's telling me that Jamal Murray has arrived to do that in the regular season. Do that. Yeah. Jamal Murray shows out, man, has the same kind of stats as he did in the bubble, and is able to take the Denver Nuggets to the Western Conference Finals and do what he did there, man, in the normal area, in the normal surrounding. I will come out here and tell you I was wrong. Yeah. I was wrong, and I'll shut it, man. But up to now, man, that doesn't prove anything to me right now with those Denver Nuggets, man. Now, sorry, I got a little carried away. But what they need to do is get Buddy Hield to add a shooter to help Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. Yeah. I'll get that off there. So I had to get that off my chest.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. People know I'm, unlike you, I'm actually high on the Nuggets. I'm high on the Nuggets. Look, I think, the bubble definitely, let's just get this out of the way. The bubble, yes, different situations, different things. But this is the first time where everyone's on the level playing field. This is the first time everyone has the same thing. And has it benefited some people more than others? Yes, it definitely does. But you know what they always also say about Denver? They have the best home court in the league because of their freaking high altitude, the elevation to high altitudes. So no matter what, I just think that the Denver Nuggets finally had something click, and I think that they need. I know you don't. Yeah, you don't believe it. I think. Look, I have my question of Jamal Murray as well. that's my thing. Like going like if you guys listen to my season review podcast like from like last week or 2 weeks ago, like I said like I loved what Jamal Murray did this bubble, but can he do in the regular season? If he could
Yes.
if he could become a 24, 25 point per game scorer, then I'm going to be extremely confident in this team going forward to be a championship contender. But I think that the Denver Nuggets have something here, and you think that bringing Buddy Hield is a good idea, and I think that's a good idea too. But I'm even looking bigger for this team.
Okay.
I'm honestly saying this. I love Michael Porter. I've had you on the show. You know how much I love Michael Porter.
For sure. Yeah.
Trade him.
Okay.
Trade him. Trade him. Trade like other players in your team, and just go all in and trying to get Bradley Beal. This is where I think Bradley Beal is going to be his most effective. Bring him in, pair him beside Nikola Jokic with Jamal Murray. Yo, the movement on the floor is going to be crazy with those three.
That would be very sick, man.
That would be sick. And if you bring in Bradley Beal to help out Jamal Murray and stuff, I think that this team again will be in the mix to make a Western Conference Finals. And unlike you, who think that Jamal Murray is just gonna completely crash next year, I think he's actually gonna show up next year. So.
No, well, not that. Oh, okay. So I want to go back.
Okay.
Murray's a good player. No.
Yeah.
Murray's a good player. Anyone listening then thinking that I'm look, man.
Yeah.
Murray's a good player, man. He's solid, bro. But to tell me that he's arrived and that he's such a superstar and he's he has the clutch gene and he's all these things, man. He's not, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he is what he is. Because let's not forget the fact that Jokic team, that's Nikola Jokic team right there.
Yeah.
In my opinion, right there. Jamal Murray is not a bad player. He's a solid player, average player, good player, man. I just don't think he's over the top. What he did in the bubble, I don't see it happening again, man.
Yeah.
All right. I'll let you. Sorry. I'll let you take the floor.
No. That's all good. No, that's all good. That's all good. I just think that this is very much a make or break season for Jamal Murray because,
For sure.
yeah, like if he can show out like even like 90% of like what he was in the bubble, because what he was in the bubble was like a top 3 point guard. He put like a top 3 point guard in the bubble.
Yeah, it's
He put like
insane.
a top 3 bubble. But if he can still like play within like maybe top 5, like bordering on top 5, I think you'll take that as the Denver Nuggets, and I think that is good enough for you to go on further. Man, we talked about this in the past too, like in our chat. Like you're really like passionate about this Denver Nuggets not being.
Dude, oh man, it's one of those things, TV. It's one of those
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
You'll see another thing later.
Yeah. Okay, let's move off the Denver Nuggets. We'll go to the final 2 teams of the West. One of my most hated teams this year, the LA Clippers. I already had my quarrels about them earlier on in the season, but what do you think they should do this season?
Sir, this is another one right now, man. I got something to get off my chest right now.
I'm gonna agree with you for the most part here. Except I have a feeling where you're gonna go, but go ahead.
Oh, you know, bro. We've talked. We've talked. So get rid of Paul George, man. That's the problem here, man.
Really?
And I said this, man. I promise you, I said this, man. And I said this to multiple people around me, man. People that are close to me. I said the only thing that's gonna stop Kawhi Leonard from going to another finals, it's not gonna be LeBron James, man. It's gonna be Paul George, because Paul George is gonna screw it up before LeBron James gets his hands on the Clippers, man. And sure enough, he did, man. Paul George has been nothing but a letdown. I'm telling you from an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, man. Even though he had, an MVP kind of a season with the Oklahoma City Thunder, man, he shrinks in big games. Next season, you go up with the Clippers, and I always told people, it's just who he is. He's going to shrink in big games because that's just who he is, man. I think the most vintage Paul George I ever saw was when he was with the Pacers, man. And even then, LeBron, man, took him to school. Okay, they gave LeBron issues, man. But again, he was able to go in, and LeBron was able to just clutch, man. Either you got it or you don't. Paul George just doesn't have the clutch gene in him, man. And he's the number 2 for a reason, man. And I've had people tell me that. But here's the thing: in the league that we're in right now, in the NBA, you absolutely need a solid number 2, man.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely need a solid number 2, man. I don't know about a number 3, man, because obviously the Lakers defy that. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. But you need at least a solid number 2. If Paul George is your second best option, you ain't doing anything, man. And he's the issue. A lot of people don't take him seriously. We saw reports coming out of the bubble that, you know, he was telling people that we got this, next season's going on. And a lot of people, you know, were just rolling their eyes at the guy because he shrunk in big games, multiple games, man. He shrunk, whether it was against the Mavericks, whether it was against the Nuggets, man. He's a big reason. Now, I'm not telling you right now that the Clippers collapse was because of has like nothing to do with Kawhi, because Kawhi played bad last game.
Game 7 was horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. But Paul George, man, it's just who he is, man. I think that for such a smart player that Kawhi is, man, I feel like having the Clippers trade away 5 first-round picks, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong there, 5 first-round picks.
It's two unprotected, 2 pick swaps, so 4 first-round picks, yeah.
So it was four. Trading all that plus a solid piece in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari, trading that away just to get Paul George, man. I feel like that was one of the dumbest moves he could have done to his career, man. Yeah. Paul George shrinks in big moments, man. He just doesn't have it in him, man. That, you know, the guy had 7 points in a game, man, for crying out loud. I can probably tell you, I don't have the stats in front of me, but the guy just shrinks in big games, man. You are good with the people you choose to surround yourself with, man. And no one's taking this guy serious. This guy, in my opinion, before Doc Rivers, should have been the first one out. It's been an absolute joke, and he's the only thing that will cost the Clippers a championship moving forward, man. He's the only thing. So I think the Clippers need to get him the hell out of LA, man. Get him out of here as far as possible. Quarantine away from that guy, man. Get rid of him, bro. Paul George, man, is not elite. He's not a superstar, man. It's more like watching a scrub, to be honest with you. He's a great player, man, but when it matters the most, when you need him to make a play, man, he's out. He's out, man. You can't even find him. You should put an APB out for the guy. Sorry, man. It got a little emotional there. Yeah, that's just my take, man. That's just the take on this, man.
Yeah. I honestly, like, when you were going through that whole tirade, I'm just looking at Paul George's game log stats right here. If we go to the first round, he had a 14-point game, an 11-point game, a 9-point game, a 15-point game in Game 6.
Even look at the shooting percentages too, man.
No. There was a game where he shot 18%. He shot 18% in the game. Okay. Trading Paul George, I don't agree with it. I still like, and people, if you've listened to me, you know how much I hate Paul George. I hate him. I hate the way he carries himself, the way he thinks that he's all this, like, and stuff like that. And he hasn't, like, accomplished.
Squad.
He hasn't really accomplished anything. But I think this whole narrative of him being not a playoff performer is blown out of proportion. And I think my only reason for that being is, like, I remember Paul George on the Indiana Pacers giving the entire Miami Heat team buckets. I remember him, like, doing that. So I know it's in him. I know it's in him that he's able to actually play well in good games. It's just the last 2 teams that he's played for, whether it was the Oklahoma City Thunder and this season the LA Clippers, it's been rough, man. It's been rough. And I definitely agree with you there, but I think this team is still a playoff contender. I think like with a new head coach, with a new everything, like, and stuff like that, I think things will kind of like work itself out, especially because, I mean, the chemistry, we should assume it's going to be better next year. I mean, they had a whole year with each other. Things should be kind of like cleaned up for next season. But I just think that, you know, trading Paul George, I think, especially because the amount that you gave up from him, I think it's really impossible. Like, I'm not going to say it's impossible to trade him, but I just think, like, for what you gave up for him, you kind of have to kind of like ride out with him because you invested so much in the guy. And I think, honestly, I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he proves you wrong. I hope he proves the rest of the NBA, like, social media wrong, and he, like, has a good season. But I think you shouldn't trade him. I went really simple here. This is going to be very quick. Just sign Tristan Thompson. You need a center that can just give you energy. In the playoffs, no one had the energy to play well last year, and it was, like, really rough for them, especially in the bubble. I mean, Zubac played some good minutes, but they just need a better defensive center out there. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't think they should trade Paul George, but bring in Tristan Thompson. Try to bring in as much of the guys from last year as possible and just see if it works. And if not, it's just the Clippers being the Clippers. So, yeah, we're going to move on to the final team, and we're going to be talking about the NBA champion Los Angeles Lakers. Obviously, the defending champs, LeBron and AD. definitely probably should be staying long term. Joe, what do you think should the champions do this offseason?
I think they should try to get a CP3, man. I feel like CP3 again will be another veteran. I feel like we already talked about the Oklahoma City Thunder trying to blow it up.
Yeah.
Why not see what you can get, man? What would you have to give up to get CP3? I feel like he'd be an upgrade just about from anyone except LeBron and AD. And I feel like with LeBron, man, if there's one thing that we've seen him is that he's such one of the things that makes LeBron so great is that he's such adaptable, man.
Yeah.
So if you tell him, hey, let's go get CP3, man, he'll for sure do whatever changes he has to do as far as like to the lineup to be able to incorporate Chris Paul, man. And I feel like, Chris Paul's got maybe about a year or two, maybe rock solid productivity for you left that I feel like he'll contribute. And I feel like that move will be able to catapult and help the Lakers repeat again, because obviously they're the favorites.
Yeah. Definitely like agree with you on that point. I mean, there already been a lot of rumors like surrounding Chris Paul going to the Lakers, and I think that would be a very good addition for them. It's going to take a lot of contracts. It's going to be like kind of messy trying to figure out like what to trade away and what to bring, like what's going to go back to the Oklahoma City Thunder as well, especially because the Lakers don't have a lot of assets.
Yeah.
Like I mean, they gave all their assets away for Anthony Davis, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of hard to get Chris Paul, but if there's any way of getting him, I think that would be an absolute win for the Lakers. I think that would be absolutely fantastic for them. I was thinking about that. I definitely was thinking about that for my pick. I tried to go kind of a step down from Chris Paul because I believe I think this guy, kind of revived his career in Detroit. I think he could be a good, whether it's starting or coming off the bench. Bring in Derrick Rose, man. I mean, he was arguably their best player last year on the Detroit Pistons. That's not saying much because the Detroit Pistons are really bad, but I think like if you put Derrick Rose, whether it's a 6-man, whether it's a starting point guard, preferably 6-man, but if you could bring him on to the Los Angeles Lakers, I think he gives a whole new element for them off the bench. I think he could still average over 15 points a game for them there. And I just want to see, he's one of my favorite players of all time. Let this man have a chance at trying to chase the ring, and I think he can still do some bits for them. But I definitely still agree with you, though. Chris Paul going to the Lakers would be the ideal scenario, but just because of the lack of assets, I think it's going to be kind of difficult for.
Really understandable, man. I like that. I like Derrick Rose. That'd be a solid one, just because of the fact that I feel like if anything we've seen from the Pistons, I feel like they're trying to just get rid of those contracts.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's still a solid pick. That'd be cheaper for them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that is definitely a good option. Any other things on the Lakers? I just don't think they should really do much.
Not really, man. I feel like they're a solid team as long as AD and LeBron both stay healthy, man. I feel like they cannot do anything, and they're still the favorites in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely, especially the way that they played all season so well this year. There's a lot of they're probably honestly up there for one of the top contenders going into next year. But yeah, that is the West off-season looks. Let us know down below. I really want to know your guys' thoughts on the Denver Nuggets. Me and Joe both have very different opinions on the Nuggets, so please leave that below. But yeah, just leave your thoughts on anything that we said today, and I will definitely try to interact with you guys in the comment section of this or the Instagram post as well. I really hope you enjoyed that podcast. It was a really good episode, and remember to follow at Critical Condition on all his social media platforms, all his YouTube's podcast platforms as well. His link can be found in my description. Remember to follow mine at TV on Basketball as well. And remember, this is the second of 3 episodes. So we have one more episode with Joe coming this Friday, and I hope you really enjoyed that. But yeah, thank you guys for taking out your day to watch this, and I hope you all have a blessed day. Take it easy, guys. Peace.